I think like everybody most people that work in publishing, I assume started out with a love of books, and I was kind of that pure hearted. And I, intentionally chose like subject matter in undergrad and grad school that would kind of get me here and teach me the skills that I needed. I ended up going to grad school at Portland State University. They have a really cool creative writing and book publishing program there where like the students actually get to work on books that are like in stores. So it's a whole like nonprofit student run press that's part of that graduate program. And you get to learn about every facet of publishing and every department, and really do the job. And that's how you learn. And then after grad school, I moved back home to Southern California. Was trying to avoid having to go to New York, to be honest. And I got a job working as like an editorial project manager for a nonfiction publisher here in Southern California. And I worked there for, I want to say like around a year before I realized like love books, love publishing, do not love being an editor. Like it's not like I do love editing developmentally, but I was doing a lot more like production related editing at that job. So yeah, I when I left there, I was kind of freelancing for a while, just trying to figure out what my next step was. I had always wanted to be an agent, but it's hard to get your foot in the door, especially being here in Southern California. There's only so many agencies in SoCal. So I got lucky, to be honest, because like I was so on the cusp of like moving to New York. I had a friend who I met in grad school who was an editor at St. Martin's Press. I was like, can I just sleep on your couch until I like find a job? But I need to like be in New York, right? To make it work and to find that position. And I'm glad that, a couple months before I was kind of ready to take that leap, Root Literary happened to post their first job posting for like a full-time agency assistant. They hadn't had a full-time employee that like wasn't an agent prior to that. They were only almost a year old, I want to say. So they were still pretty new. And I lived, an hour train ride away. And so I was like, let's do this. And, my friend forwarded me the job posting, and that's how I ended up getting the job at Root Literary. And I'm really glad that I didn't have to go to New York. So yeah. So that's the short version, obviously. But yeah.
Well, what a tremendous opportunity! Because even though it's a brand new agency for 1 year, when you join them, you've got Holly Root and Molly O'Neill. Check the back catalog, esteemed audience. You can enjoy my conversation with Holly Root. That's episode number 18, and my conversation with Molly O'Neill is episode 25. Shameless plugs, but they're both fantastic conversations. I wouldn't want you to miss them. But both of them have a combined how many years experience? A lot of years of experience by the time they started the agency, right?
I want to say like it's got to be probably 30 years combined between the two of them because Molly O'Neill was the editor she worked at HarperCollins. She acquired Divergent when she was there. A little, maybe you've heard of it. Just, and that whole time, her and Holly were actually friends, but they were working on, opposite sides of the desk, and Holly was agenting during that time. So yeah, I think it was about 12, maybe 15 years of agenting for Holly before she founded Root Literary. And prior to that, they had both kind of worked for a little bit at Waxman, legal agency. So it was a really good moment in time to be like, it's been really fun, like helping Holly, create the infrastructure that our agency operates on. We've hired several new people since I started, partly because I'm an agent now and I can't be everything to the agency anymore. So yeah, it's been like really gratifying, like being a part of that.
It was fun when I went back and I checked the original emails to set those podcast interviews up. I was talking to you, a notable assistant who was helping to get those up and running. And now you've got several clients, including previous guests, Lakita Wilson, episode 173, esteemed audience. Oh my God. Don't miss it. But you go in there, and I know that not everybody feels about not everybody's a book nerd like I am. Not everybody feels about publishing the way I do. But I would think that literary post and opening, there have to be like 20, 30 people that immediately want to come in and get that job, right?
Yeah. So I honestly, I don't know. I've never asked how many people applied to that very first posting. I might be scared to know the answer, to be honest. But I will say, like, I've had a pretty big hand in the hiring process for every subsequent hire. Just because in prior like non-publishing jobs, I was like a manager at the movie theater when I was in college. Like I've always like loved like running a business and like working with people. And so it's just a skill set that I have and that I've, been helping out with here. And I know that for the last assistant posting we had, I want to say there was over 1,000 applicants, and it was a lot. And they were coming in very quickly. Um, and I don't know if that's how it is for every agency. I can't speak to that, but I wouldn't be surprised if part of it is just, it's rare for an agency job to open up at the assistant level, like an entry level position on the West Coast, no less. It's just very rare. And so I feel like when they open up, a lot of people are just throwing their hat in the ring.
So like if a position opens up in New York, people just yawn. It's fine.
No, no, I'm sure those got to be really competitive. But yeah, it's just a little different because so many people are waiting for that opportunity that isn't New York based, whether it's remote working or a West Coast position. And if you don't really see yourself wanting to live in New York and that's not your vibe, then your options are much more limited. So yeah, it's a lot.
Well, I'm forever banging the drum that we've got to get publishing decentralized. I want to see more. I want to see publishers across America. Um, do I mean now post mid pandemic, wherever the heck we are with this thing? Um, do you feel like there are more opportunities for people to work remotely?
Yeah, no, there definitely are. I mentioned one of my close friends is an editor at St. Martin's Press and Wednesday Books. And so just talking to her, like, I feel like we talk like at least once a week on the phone, and she's been kind of updating me about their remote work policy. And they're still sticking with like the hybrid kind of like you can work a couple days in the office, work a couple days from home. And that seems to be by and large pretty true. So I do think that the barrier to entry is a little bit lower than it was when I was looking for a job at an agency where like, good luck. Like when I was applying, like that would have never really been the case unless you were far more senior and maybe had like a lot of things under your belt that you could kind of point to and be like, see, like I don't need someone to babysit me. Like I know what I'm doing. Like I can do this from home, Um, but yeah, now I've seen a lot of agencies in particular, which were always kind of like, you can run an agency and not even have an office if you didn't need it or want it. So I feel like it was a little bit, you might have seen that more with agencies, but certainly not with publishers. So yeah, I do feel like there are more opportunities, and I hope it stays that way. Once we're through whatever it is that's going on. But yeah, who can say? Yeah.
So I'm always trying to give a little bit of a leg up to anybody who wants to follow in your footsteps and get into publishing.
Mhm.
So what do you think out of the presumably thousands of applicants that Holly and Molly were sorting through, and with the applicants that you've helped sort through when you participated in the hiring, what made you stand out? What makes other candidates stand out as a good fit?
Yeah, for me, part of it was I think the really obvious like no's, unfortunately, are going to be people who, it sounds really obvious, but like who just don't read anything that we work on. And I think, that might sound really obvious, but you'd be surprised because I think, and I understand because there's only, again, it's a little bit like the frequency of those jobs opening up sometimes it's very far and few between. And so when you see one, you're just like, yes, like I'm just going to apply. And it doesn't, sometimes you're not thinking, do I even read the books that this agency represents? like, would I even enjoy like assisting those agents and working on those clients' manuscript when I don't read military thrillers or, like whatever it is. And so sometimes you get that where like they might be perfect for the position if we worked on different kinds of books. And so, an assistant applying for, an entry level agency job or like a direct assistant to one of the agents here, they don't have to have read like everything that Molly's ever worked on or everything that Taylor's ever worked on, but having like somewhat of an market awareness of like, yeah, here are some like recent fantasy books that I've read and I know are performing well. Like here's, what's working in YA. Just having that larger market awareness is really important. But as far as like other things that stand out, it's funny because I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, do I have to have prior agency experience or publishing experience? And the answer is no, you don't. I think it's more important just that spin that you put on the skills you already had. Like I said, like I came from like like I worked in a movie theater. I was a manager, like, and I just kind of spun that with like, I've always wanted to be around stories. Like that's part of why I liked working at the movie theater. I like working with people. I had lots of like office jobs. Like when I was in grad school, I worked as a like weekend secretary to this real estate office that was like a 10-minute walk from my apartment. And I think all of these things, I worked at the Apple store. Like I worked in downtown Portland at the Apple store in grad school, like a few years before getting this job. And I think it's more about how you spin that experience and like having the confidence to be like, yeah, those weren't publishing jobs, but here's what they taught me. They taught me how to be organized. They taught me how to talk to people. They, taught me, how to pitch, whatever it is, how to manage humans, because so much of like being an agent is like knowing how to talk to people, knowing how to work well with people and collaborate. So I think it's all just about like the spin that you put on your experience and having the confidence to really just lean into it rather than like being like, oh, I know I haven't had like, like a publishing job yet. And like, and feeling like you're not enough. Because that's not true. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I feel like I'm just like so often like the people we hire, I work really closely with. So far we haven't had a hire, leave. They're welcome to. They're not like chained to their desk. But everyone seems pretty happy, and it's like people that I work really closely with, and so we just want to make sure that it's like a personality match, and that you're someone that we feel like we could work alongside every day. So for us, I feel like the human component is really important. All the other skills you can learn on the job. And I'm sure for folks who do go back to like Holly's episode, like I feel like I remember her saying that it's an apprenticeship model, like becoming an agent. Like you learn how to be an agent by doing the job and working closely with another, like someone who's already doing the job, like Holly, or so yeah, I guess just have the confidence and I don't know if that answers your question. Yeah.
Yes, I'm just in general, people who apply for jobs and come in and present everything is, I know I'm terrible at all the things that you would want me to be in this position for, but I promise I'll get good. That's not a good look. Don't do that. Always come in strong. Whatever you've got, make it make it as presentable as you possibly can. That's just a good strategy for life.
Yeah,
I'm sure
exactly.
it doesn't hurt that they're looking at your work experience and saying, okay, well, while at grad school, you're also working all weekend. You're also managing a movie theater. You're a hustler, and that's going to be important for this particular job, right?
Yes, this is true. I've always been like, I don't know, like above and beyond. Like I've always been like ambitious to a fault. Like when I went to grad school, I had never even stepped foot into the state of Oregon, and I was broke. I didn't have the money to like pay for a flight to go like to like go explore the city. And people were like, you're just going to go to grad school in a city that you've never been to? And I was like, yeah, I am. Because like this is how I'm gonna get to where I want to be. And it really doesn't matter how much I love the city of Portland. Like that's how I'm gonna get to where I need to go. Um, and yeah, when I worked at the movie theater, I was always like, like they were like, "Do you want to be supervisor? Do you want to be manager? You'd be really good at it." I'm like, "Does it pay more money? Cool. Can I work the same amount of hours I'm currently working, but get paid more money and do what I'm already doing? Okay, cool. Let's do that then." So, so yeah, I guess you could say a hustler. Yeah, I've always had lots of, and then, I did the freelance thing for a while and was able to make like a full-time income off of it. I think for that, it's just a different business model. And I just kind of got sick of like that particular kind of hustle. So